Interdimensional travel. I'm still waiting for it. Well, hello YouTube, it's me Fortmaster, and welcome back to another Super Eyepatch Wolf reaction. So I guess this one is a sequel to one that I've done a reaction to before, the complete implosion of Riverdale, which, if you've never heard of Riverdale before, it was that really weird and supposedly very mismanaged live-action remake. It was a live action like Archie show, you know, like the Archie comics that you used to always be able to get in grocery stores. Actually thinking, when was that? Yeah, so I did my reaction to that back in August. So yeah, I mean, thinking back to it, it's starting to come back to me, just all of the weird absurdities and all the weird choices that went into that show. But honestly, I'm curious as to why Wolf here is making another video on the subject. Like, granted, I mean, I don't remember how the last video ended, so wait, did it end on a cliffhanger or something? Yeah, so I just went back and watched the very end of the original video, and it didn't really end on a point where, like, it could potentially say that the video would be getting a sequel. Though, that being said, that previous video is 3 years old at this point, so maybe new things about the show have come out? I don't know. But yeah, we should probably get into this then and see really what is the implosion then. So yeah, of course, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video will lead to my Let's Play of the day. And yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
It has been 1,122 days since I made a video about Riverdale. I remember the evening of its upload with great clarity. After spending months of my life creating a Riverdale video, I celebrated by doing what any normal person would do. I watched the new episode of Riverdale, and what I saw horrified me. The characters of Riverdale engaging in a fist fight with a swarm of mechanical ant people. No, this couldn't be happening. For weeks, I had labored over a video designed to both ridicule and celebrate the insanity of Riverdale. But now, this single scene invalidated everything I had done, making my video obsolete. A babe born onto this world, only to immediately wither and die. This filled me with a gnawing inadequacy that only grew more corrosive in the months that followed as...
Sorry, I mentally still haven't moved on from the whole mechanical ant people thing. Okay, yeah. Great. Are we sure? Okay, so thinking back, are we sure that this show wasn't actually a live-action adaptation of Archie's Weird Mysteries?
As each new episode, each new revelation only deepened the pit of failure welling inside me. I thought I understood what Riverdale was, but now I was forced to reconcile that I knew nothing. At times, it nearly felt like the show was laughing at me, mocking my attempts to understand it, and I tried to fight back. I tried to mask my insecurity through inept social media posts. It did nothing. You can still watch that original video.
I did!
But it's meaningless now. A crumbling husk of obsolescence. This video is my penance. A document mapping the ever-escalating staircase of lunacy that would eventually collapse in Riverdale's inevitable implosion.
When did Riverdale end again? Because I've forgotten. Really? It lasted up until last year! Okay, that's news. Okay. I thought it ended a while ago. Jeez.
And in doing so, asking, what is this show? And what about it keeps dragging me back to this town?
I mean, it is a weird town.
Is a segment comparing plotlines from Season 1 to those of Season 3. This is to demonstrate a principle Riverdale is built upon: Escalation. Season 1,
Okay.
Archie can't decide between Betty and Veronica. Season 3, after escaping a prison where he was forced to compete in an underground fighting tournament, Archie is mauled by a bear before spending the night with ghosts. Season 1, Jughead joins the school newspaper. Season 3, Jughead encounters a haunted Dungeons & Dragons game that mind controls people into drinking poison. Season 1, Cheryl is sad over her brother's passing. Season 3, Cheryl is kidnapped by a group of evil subterranean nuns called the Sisters of Quiet Mercy. Season 1.
Can we get some season 2 in there just so we can get kind of like a middle point to see like what kind of curve is going on in this graph?
Betty's mom is mean. Season 3. Betty's dad is a serial killer. Season 1. Betty likes Archie, but she doesn't know if he likes her. Season 3. Betty's brother is also a serial killer. Season 1. Betty throws Jughead a party.
There's a lot of Betty plots going on here.
Betty's half brother is in the FBI and hunts serial killers.
Yeah, look, there's something going on with Betty's family. And also, this is season 1 versus season 3. I just looked on the Wikipedia page, it said there were 7 seasons. How nuts does this get?
And is also a serial killer. Season 1 villain,
of course!
Chuck, the mean jock. Season 3 villain, the Gargoyle King. Season 1 storyline, the gang learn to accept that their sleepy little town might not be so peaceful after all. Season 3 storyline, the gang learn to accept that everyone they have ever known and loved has been indoctrinated into an organ harvesting cult that was rapture bombed out of existence only to reappear again, its leader now piloting a rocket ship.
Okay. I don't remember a lot in my last reaction. That I do remember.
Oh, this show. If you haven't seen Riverdale or my previous video on it, that has probably left you with several questions, like, what is happening? Are you lying? And do you actually like this? And the answer to that last one is yeah. You might not think it from the mass online ridicule, but Riverdale is one of the biggest teen dramas of all time. Its cast have a combined 100 million followers on Instagram, and what I can only describe as Riverdale fan AMVs can rack up views in the tens of millions.
Maybe I need to switch genres. No. But, oh god, you know, the whole thing is, what is it? The actor who plays Jughead? What is his name? Yeah, Carl Sprouse. I know of him, but I don't know of him from, you know, Riverdale. I know of him from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. I'm an original fan. Oh, God. And then there's The Sweet Life on Deck. Oh, God, those were the days.
In an era where most TV shows can barely limp past 3 10-episode seasons, Riverdale is an anomaly, a gargantuan 7-episode behemoth averaging 20 episodes per
I'm sorry. Oh, wait, so 7 episodes meant season, okay.
Season. So to take our first step into the garden of madness that will end in Riverdale's inevitable downfall, we must first ask, what is the appeal of this show?
Well, I mean, initially it was just, you know, it's a live-action version of the Archie comics. Ooh. But also, just going back to that whole thing with, like, having more than 8 or 12 episodes in a season. Oh, God, I miss those days. Like, I mean, granted, for me, like, especially when I was very young, I was horrible about keeping up to date on, like, you know, shows my age, I guess you could say it. Like, for me, even though there was a TV guide, the thought of the TV guide never really entered my head. It was more just, oh, turn on the TV now. Oh, hey, something I like is on. Hey, something I don't like is on. And I just, you know, something like that. Like, it would never occur to me to actually, you know, look at the time when the thing is on and try to, you know, watch that thing at that time again. I was a very stupid child. For me, the only thing that I ever watched religiously were more like adult quote unquote, you know, sitcoms and stuff like that, because, you know, we'd sit down as a family after dinner and watch them, like Bones, House, Fringe. There was a Canadian sitcom that went on for a number of years called Corner Gas. We watched that every week for a long time when it was on. And that was just what we did. nowadays you have and I sound a bit like my mother when I'm saying this, but nowadays you'll have shows where like they'll do 4 episodes and then they'll be off for like half a year, and in that time we've completely forgotten about the show, or at least completely forgot where we were in the show, and by the time it comes back on we have no interest in watching it again. It's like, I miss when shows had bulk to them, because then, you know, you actually get to experience, it's not, because then it's not always just plot, it's like plot, then downtime, or character character interactions. You get to spend time with the characters in these worlds instead of just constantly moving through. It's like boom, and then hey, we're the season and nope, series finale, there you go, bye, and then it's just I miss that era of television. I'm just gonna say it.
There's a scene I bring up anytime I want to convey the appeal of Riverdale. It is this.
Mr. Chipping?
I'm sorry, Jughead, that I couldn't help you.
Mr. Chipping!
This is not an unusual occurrence in Riverdale.
Everybody is jumping out of windows constantly at every episode.
The episodes often contain multiple moments like this, and it creates this manic pace and nearly giddy, fever dream-like feel. And what's cool is how the rest of production is designed to enhance that surreal quality. Everything about Riverdale looks just a little strange, from the neon lighting that coats its characters in ethereal blues or glowing crimsons, to how the sets of Riverdale refuse to pin themselves to any single time period. Characters will drive old-timey cars, type on retro computers, and watch VHS tapes on vacuum-tubed televisions, but also pull out iPhones and search the internet. And I kind of love this. It gives Riverdale as a location this ethereal town outside of time atmosphere, and part of the reason I'm sure that's intentional is how well considered the rest of production is. Like, take this shot of Betty and Jughead walking into a prison. The camera moving past the first monitor, letting us know immediately that we are in a prison, a second monitor setting up the fact that Jughead and Betty have just arrived, before its camera move ends in a composition that perfectly frames the 3 characters, to the point that even the officer's reflection is clearly visible. Making a scene flow like this takes an immense amount of experience, skill, timing, and likely retakes. But not only does it make the show constantly engaging.
Well, actually, I mean, if you have like, you know, computer-controlled cameras where you can like perfectly do the movement every time, I mean, you might only have to do it once or twice if the actors are good enough
to look at. It means visually Riverdale can kind of be whatever it wants. When it's pretending to be a slasher movie, it looks like a slasher movie. Same when it's a musical or gritty crime drama or 1970s neo-noir. That versatility only adding to the show's surreal appeal, and adding even further is its cast. Just as Riverdale's production must often pivot to the show's many bizarre plot turns, the story formula for Riverdale is simple. Take a group of teenagers whose faces resemble the baby animals from Bambi and force them through meat grinders of emotional trauma. Veronica is the rich girl who is locked.
Never heard it quite put. Okay, that. Never heard it put that way before.
In a show-spanning dance of vaguely incestuous death with her evil billionaire father. Betty is the all-American girl next door who cannot stop encountering serial killers. Jughead dies on at least 4 separate occasions, but the show's favorite punching bag of emotional trauma is Archie Andrews, who will frequently endure things like being cattle branded, mauled by a bear, set on fire, and having a mountain dropped on him. And those are just the things we covered last video, so hopefully now everything's gonna be all right. Oh, Archie, you haven't even been in a war yet. Without a strong cast.
Was that a joke or was that foreshadowing?
That formula of endearing teenagers versus emotional trauma wouldn't work. But with the exception of Reggie, who is recast between seasons 1 and 2, the cast are all pretty great at conveying whatever the script is going for, which is, occasionally, absolute fucking insanity.
I am Cheryl Blossom, queen of the bees.
I particularly love Madeleine Pesch's performance as Cheryl, who steals basically any moment she's in through a combination of utterly fantastic outfits and the most withering dialogue delivery that just cuts through any character unfortunate enough to share a scene with her.
That's a little barbaric.
No, you sad, simple she-child.
She-child? Okay. Oh god, I mean, I say that the show is absolutely insane, but now I'm actually thinking, if I had actually watched this show from the beginning, would I have kept up with it? Because this is absolutely nuts.
And it's not even just the main cast. Even relatively small roles are given to character actors who take every line they're handed and elevate it in a way that is so ludicrously entertaining. I cannot tell you how excited I get whenever Nana Rose, played by Barbara Wallace, opens her mouth.
We must perform a banishment.
Or the delight I feel at every one of Dr. Curdle Jr.'s lines, Nikolai Wesh drenching every word in morbid glee.
I believe the ghoulies turned their guns on themselves.
That's kind of Riverdale, a show with manic pacing, a great production, and lunatic levels of trauma conveyed by a fantastic cast. And when you combine all that with the escalation we talked about earlier, you get a show that is, on occasion, homicidally entertaining, and particularly when we hit the multi-cult, organ-harvesting, Dungeons and Dragons playing monster murder kingdom of madness and lunacy that is season 3. And I just want to restate here, there is a subspecies of human that considers season 1 the peak and season 3 the fall off. And I need you to know, I would never be friends with you. But season 3 is also kind of the poison pill in Riverdale's long-term storytelling, because in a show that is so reliant on escalation, how do you possibly escalate from here?
Interdimensional travel, alien invasions, universe destruction. I'm pulling it. It's like, out of all, Riverdale was a show that lasted up until last year. So, given, the general state of pop culture and movies and shows and stuff like that, there has to be at least a sub-arc or a subplot or something like that involving interdimensional travel. That's just everything involves interdimensional travel nowadays.
And that's a problem you can feel immediately in season 4.
This video is sponsored by Angel Burger, where we'll be releasing our special spooky burger t-shirt. And oh my god, that's me! Look how cute I look as a little demon. Available now at all Angel Burger locations. Or I guess you could pick it up at eyepatchwolves.com. Anyway, back to your dumb video essay or whatever.
Like a grown adult making their second YouTube video on a show clearly aimed at teenagers, something feels a little off about season 4. The main plot centers around Jughead attending Stonewall Prep and feuding with a group of slightly murdery boarding school students.
Where does Riverdale take place, and is there something in the water supply? Because there are just way too many serial killers in this area.
Who serve as this season's villains, and compared to past villains like evil child-mauling billionaire Hiram Lodge, organ-harvesting rocket ship pilot Edgar Evernever, or real-life monster the Gargoyle King, the Stonewall Prep kids just feel a little bland, and that is a problem. In order for Riverdale to reach the lunatic heights it does, it needs a strong villain to operate the meat grinder of emotional trauma that our teenage heroes are constantly forced through, and without one, what you have is the first season of Riverdale that doesn't feel like a dramatic escalation on previous seasons. There are other problems with season 4, which you really can't blame the show for, like the genuinely tragic and unexpected passing of Luke Perry, who played Fred Andrews, Archie's dad, or COVID-19 breaking up production in a weird way, meaning that in a 19-episode season, the narrative climax resolves in episode 16. And by narrative climax, I do of course mean the second time a member of school staff hurls themselves out a window.
To the end.
Seriously, again?
We then get 3
Like, I swear, at this point, again, I haven't watched the show. Does Jughead have a complex? Because that's literally the second time somebody has jumped out of the window in front of him.
episodes where everything is just kind of alright. And as we reach the season's end, it's hard not to feel like the show is running out of narrative train track. However, this is when Riverdale plays its trump card.
This entire season was in a simulation. I'm calling it now. Come on, simulation.
If there's one thing Riverdale is goddamn incredible at, it's ending seasons with big dramatic cliffhangers. Archie's dad being shot at the end of season 1, Archie being arrested for murder at the end of season 2, the naked Jughead devouring orgy at the end of season 3, and season 4.
Right, I forgot. He did specifically say that Jughead has come back from the dead multiple times.
Highlight of season 4, aside from Cheryl's dead puppet brother or the 2 separate instances of auto-defenestration, are these strange videotapes that the residents of Riverdale have been receiving. Initially just footage of their homes, but soon these tapes take a more sinister turn, showing people wearing ghoulish masks recreating the darkest moments of Riverdale. Having experienced 12 serial killers up until this point, Jughead ignores the tapes and goes about his life as per usual, such as applying to college with an essay in which him and all his friends tie their principal, Mr. Honey, to a chair and murder him, which is...
Yeah, I mean, that... Okay, I mean, yes, it's weird, but if I was in Jughead's shoes, like, literally the 12th serial killer he's experienced, at that point, it's just like, why do why even care? They're coming out of the woodwork at that point.
Which is a totally normal thing to write about, let alone apply to college with. However, in the final episode, Jughead discovers another videotape, but this one is different.
It's a videotape of him writing his applications to college.
On it is a group of people carrying knives, wearing ghoulish masks that resemble Jughead, Betty, Veronica, Archie, Cheryl, and Reggie, who surround a man tied to a chair with a sign around his neck that reads, Mr. Honey, before the group of people descend on him, their knives sliding in and out of his body. It's such a good moment, so uniquely visually horrifying with terrifying implications on the story going forward from here. Who are these people? How did they know the contents of Jughead's essay? And what does this mean for the future of Riverdale?
Also, what kind of college did he apply to?
This is more or less where we left off in that first video, and for all Season 4's troubles, this seems like a fantastic platform from which to nosedive into Season 5. Or at least, that's how it seemed. For as impactful as the videotape cliffhanger was, it actually gets resolved only 2 episodes into Season 5 when it's revealed that the one responsible for all these horrific murders was Jughead's little sister. And also, no one was actually murdered. It was just a bunch of kids funning.
No one's gonna watch this crap again.
If you feel disappointed, I would ask you to imagine what it was like to wait 259 days for that reveal, and then realize that the show is not the problem. You are the problem. You're the one who keeps watching it, keeps praying that some big revelation that's never coming will make it all make sense, allowing you to believe that this show really was about something and not just a fleeting diversion, a way to temporarily distract yourself from the galactic void inside you that gapes deeper and wider with each passing day.
Does anyone else think that Super Eyepatch Wolf may need to go to therapy? Because these whole tangents about him and his life being meaningless or, you know, a void or stuff like that seem to be coming more and more often.
As your hands wither and begin to move by themselves, and your reflection looks more and more like a person you used to know. My point is that the Jelly Bean reveal, that's her name, is a catastrophic failure in storytelling. And so now we have to ask, what is wrong with this show?
No, you know what? I figured it out. This show is the visual equivalent of a run-on sentence. It just keeps going and going with no punctuation.
Well, Riverdale has a very specific kind of writing that I've seen somewhere before. Specifically, early 2000s WCW. No, stop booing. I have to...
Don't. When it comes to this, I'm putting this out here. I am never doing a reaction to anything wrestling related ever again. Because I did reactions to a couple of wrestling videos from Super Eyepatch Wolf here, and they were taken down immediately. You know, like taken down so that people couldn't view them, and I have not been able to get them back up again. Talk
about wrestling, this is important. Early 2000s WCW has one big trick, the swerve. The idea that something unexpected happens where logic or narrative progression take a backseat to just giving the audience something fucking crazy to react to. And the company had seen great success with this, such as Hulk Hogan making an entire arena collectively shit itself by joining the evil NWO, which was good. However, from here, the company would become more and more reliant on swerves. One of the most difficult parts of storytelling is balancing a plot so that you have enough exciting things happening in the present, as well as laying the narrative groundwork to seed future storylines later on. But swerves let us temporarily circumvent that balance. Cause if you just have wild out of nowhere shit happening all the time, the audience will be so entranced by the madness that they never have a chance to get bored or ask, where is all this going? At least that is until multiple poorly thought out story decisions collapse in on themselves, resulting in narrative disasters like the finger poke of doom, which, trust me, I could explain, it will not make more sense. I fear only wrestling fans will truly understand the devastation of this next statement, but this era of Riverdale is like early 2000s WCW. The show has now become so swerve addicted, its penchant for big dramatic moments compounding in such an insane way. Like seriously, just listen to the actors try and cram all the insane shit that's happened up until this point into casual dialogue.
And not just our ancestral mansion, Thornhill, which I burned down in my youth.
Archie's house blew up.
I've spoken to Hiram Lodge. He's promised to take proper care of me in his private jail.
When I said you and Archie were doing more than just pretending to date when Jughead was dead?
I know I bailed on you after that horrible night when my dad...
I can't. I just love, the fact that when he was dead was just something just said in casual conversation.
Dad dressed as the Gargoyle King, tried to scare us while we were having sex for the first time.
The show's manic pace and constant escalation, meaning we have burnt through our narrative train track, while never spending the time to seed those future storylines. Meaning now, there is no way to write a satisfying conclusion to this storyline. Short of introducing an entirely new cast of characters, building them up over the following season, only to then very obviously reveal it was them, which would be bad, there is nothing you can do. So you make it Jelly Bean and write it off in 2 episodes, because this was never a story. It was a moment, a swerve designed for the audience to react to and pull them back for the next season. So, in conclusion, it's not that the writers dropped the ball, it's that the ball was made of petrol and dynamite.
And it exploded,
so
okay, of course.
An entirely more existential problem. What at this point is Riverdale? With all plot threads used up, how do you now restart the story in a way that's meaningful and creates new narrative avenues for every single character? Although,
Interdimensional travel. I'm still waiting for it.
You know, Jughead does have this one line.
Unless a meteorite strikes this town in 2 days, we'll have survived graduation.
Okay, no, actually, no, that's too silly. They would never do that. I'm sorry I brought it up. Anyway, as for the problem of what to do now, well, believe it or not, the creators did actually find an answer.
Have a meteorite come and destroy the town 2 days later.
Season 5, Episode 4. Time code 0 minutes and 4 seconds.
Oh,
Archie
geez, okay.
gives an impassioned speech to his fellow football players before they charge onto a field where bullets slice past them. Archie, now holding a rifle and in army fatigues, watches as his teammates are obliterated around him, all while he's cheered on by his friends and family.
Okay, so that whole thing... Okay, so that was... Okay. Okay, so that thing he said earlier. Okay.
Before Hiram Lodge appears and places a bullet between Archie's eyes. Archie awakens in a hospital bed. He has just fought in a war. Which war? Doesn't matter.
Don't
ask questions. Honorably discharged, Archie must now return home to Riverdale.
Wait, so does season 5 takes place 7 years after season 4? Or this episode? Gee, okay. Or... Oh, wait. No, is he like in a coma or something? Oh, no. Oh, God. This could go so many different ways.
A place he hasn't been.
No, wait. It's gonna be time travel.
For 7 years. Archie returns to a Riverdale changed, a town whose streets now swarm with rabid dogs, its buildings constantly ablaze, and all Archie's friends gone. In the 7 years since we last saw these characters, Veronica has married arrogant finance boy Chadwick, who she will absolutely not divorce in 2 episodes. Jughead has moved to New York, where he does what all irritating men threaten to. He writes a book. Cheryl has sequestered herself in Thornhill Manor and found success in the lucrative world of furry commissions. And Betty is now in the FBI, having recently been captured by and escaped from Riverdale's 13th serial killer. I am aware that people think I am joking when I talk about how many serial killers are in Riverdale, so please allow me a...
At this point, how are there any people left in Riverdale? Because at this point, you either fall into one of 2 categories. You're either the serial killer or the people that the serial killers had to kill in order to become serial killers.
A short sidebar to list them all. How many do you think there are? The Black Hood, the Janitor, Hiram Lodge, Cheryl Blossom, Penelope Blossom, Betty's secret brother chick.
I'm going to say, since they're season 5, they're up at 14. I'm going to guess maybe near the end of the show they kind of go, running for it again. So I'm going to say around an even 20.
Tall Boy, the Gargoyle King, Edgar Evernever, Evelyn Evernever, Stonewall Prep students, evil principal Francis...
Hey, wait a second, you counted several of them as one serial killer? That doesn't count. You have to count each of them individually.
DuPont, Trevor the hospital orderly, the Lost Highway killer, Old Man Dreyfus, evil FBI brother, that assassin Veronica slept with, the trash bag killer, Shadow Archie Andrews, figure of popular Mexican folklore La Lorena, Percival Pickens,
we're over
the
20.
Milkman. This list encompasses only characters who kill out of some predetermined malice, and not the multiple characters of Riverdale who have body counts for plot-justified reasons.
Okay, so it was around 20, so I'm gonna take that as a win.
Like Archie or Veronica, though I guess that depends if you count unintentional sex venom as plot justified. Look, we'll get there. The time skip solves several of Riverdale's long-term problems. For one, it's a clever solution for the issue that there was no story left to tell. Well, clever in the way that flipping a chessboard is clever. But it does mean that the characters can now explore more adult issues while also providing 7 brand new years of backstory that the writers can draw on to propel those narratives forward. Like Jughead becoming an alcoholic after drowning in a giant pile of rats.
I will say though, why would you have it in, what was it? This was episode 4 of season 5? Why not have it on episode 1? Like, episode 4, such an awkward and random point in the season to have a time skip.
Am I lying? You don't know. You may never know. It also eliminates the slightly embarrassing problem that by season 5, most of the cast were in their late 20s and 30s playing teenagers. This high schooler is 37 years old. And now, that's no longer a problem, and surely it never will be again. However, the time skip also fundamentally alters what Riverdale is. This is now no longer a show about teenagers enduring trauma, even more ludicrous than that time a stripper asked me, "Are you super Eyepatch Wolf?" Instead, we now have a soldier, a millionaire, an FBI agent, and a sadder Jughead facing those same threats. But they've all been through so much at this point, so that when one of the several new serial killers emerge, their reaction is just, "Oh, here we go again!" To counterbalance this, the show will need to introduce a new kind of threat, which is why it's disappointing that the season villain is once again Hiram Lodge, who's been here since season 2, which, don't get me wrong, I love Hiram. This is a man who hangs a painting of himself above his desk and cured his own cancer by beating the shit out of people. And the episode covering his backstory is genuinely well written. Like, seriously, I don't even have anything to make fun of here. It's just good television. Okay, look, Hiram Lodge does play his own dad wearing a fake mustache, and that's just very, very funny. But with the same villain.
That is perfect. I swear, if I was in charge of like Hollywood or something like that, I'd make that law that if like they do it like in Back to the Future, where if you're playing your parents or your kids of your own character, you have to use the same character. That would for everything.
We also just get the same storylines. Hiram continues his, at this point, utterly psychotic vendetta against Archie in the town of Riverdale, and in a plot more contrived than me explaining, "No, I'm not into clown girls, we just sell a lot of those t-shirts." Every major character becomes a teacher in Riverdale High, meaning even post-time skip, the show is still kind of a teen drama. The repetition continues.
They're all teachers.
Betty is stalked by yet another serial killer. Veronica continues her vaguely incestuous business rivalry with her father, and Archie must once again overcome some horrific trauma.
What kind of war were they going? Because like the way he's dressed and like the trenches, like, okay, so wait, is this playing on the whole thing of where, like, you know, Einstein said he didn't know what weapons World War III would be fought with, but he knew that World War IV would be fought with sticks and stones? Did we regress back to trench warfare for World War III?
But at least he does get therapy this time, meaning by the end of the season, everything's gonna be all right. Oh, Archie.
Oh, no.
You haven't even been dragged into an alternate reality where you will be sacrificed to the old gods. Your still beating heart ripped from your struggling body and presented to your friends and family as they dance and howl with ecstatic glee. Okay.
I was right. Yes, interdimensional travel. Yes, called it.
Okay, I made that up. Or did I? Rather than using the time skip to escalate Riverdale into something new in the same way that seasons 1 to 3 did, Riverdale season 5 feels like it lacks that confidence, choosing instead to imitate a version of what this show used to be rather than taking a proper step forward. And in the final few episodes, you can feel Riverdale grapple with the same existential problems that plagued season 4, haunted by the question, what now is this show? And that's a struggle you could see reflected in its ratings. Despite retaining the same Wednesday at 8 p.m. time slots in season 2, by the end of season 5, Riverdale was hemorrhaging viewers, with estimates seeing its viewership fall from 2.3 million at the beginning of season 2 to just 360,000 at the end of season 5.
Oh,
which
geez.
a certain amount you could attribute to people watching it on Netflix. Netflix subscriptions had more than doubled between 2016 and
Curse you,
2021,
Netflix.
but it doesn't really account for the show bleeding nearly 85% of its audience in that time, with season 6 now being bumped to the inferior time slot of Tuesday at 9 p.m, meaning Riverdale was now a TV show on wobbling legs. With cancellation looming, the show needed to do something big, and man, if only there was something here in season 5, some bizarre storyline that could serve as a strange guiding light dictating the future of Riverdale. Oh, that's right. The mechanical ant people.
Oh yeah, I forgot we talked about that.
Jughead encounters the legend of the Riverdale Mothman, a dangerous creature that stalks the forests surrounding the town.
I'm sorry, the Riverdale Mothman? There's more Mothmen?
Jughead begins to investigate the legend, but as he does, he becomes plagued by strange power outages, monitored from the skies by massive flying machines, and stalked by alien-like moth people. You're watching this and it's like, there's no way Riverdale's actually doing this, right? Like it's always flirted with the supernatural, but it always explains it away. For example, Cheryl's haunted doll brother was actually just being removed around by her secret mother who lives in her walls. But the further this plot races forward, the more those logical explanations begin to fade into the rear view, with Pops encountering the same spacecraft in the 70s and Archie seeing one of the creatures in the mines below Riverdale. But perhaps most definitively, Nana Rose having one of the creature's skeletons preserved in a vat of maple syrup. Undeniable proof.
In a vat of maple syrup? I mean, brine, I could understand, because, the whole thing, you're basically pickling it, and, the salt, can helps with preservation. Maple syrup? Sugar, I mean, granted, you add enough sugar and it will dry stuff out, but sugar is horrible for preservation. I don't know how many times, we've had maple syrup, actual maple syrup in our cabinet. We haven't used it for a while, and we take it out because we've had pancakes or waffles or something for the first time in a while, and we pour it out and there's a bit of mold floating on top of it. Oh, how does that work?
That aliens exist in Riverdale. Wow, it sure would be frustrating if this was another swerve and the actual explanation didn't make any goddamn sense at all. Anyway, let's keep reading this script I wrote. Later, it's revealed that the alien moth people were actually just a family of misshapen serial killers. Oh, Riverdale, I swear to fucking Christ.
At this point, I'd almost say, who were the writers of this show? Was there, one writer that was, on there continuously throughout the entire show? Because at this point, I'd almost start calling this a fetish. Because this is just absolutely insane.
Illegitimate sons of Cheryl's grandfather who were discarded in the woods before growing up to form an evil murder cult. The reason they look like this being that, this is what Riverdale thinks children born out of wedlock look like. As for why Archie and Jughead saw the same alien or the two separate sightings of the spacecraft, well, there's actually a really clever explanation for that. The storyline culminates in our heroes storming the Mothman murder compound, where they encounter what can only be described as a swarm of mechanical ant people, and this was it. I sat there, watching this scene, my hands trembling, as the nucleus for this video lurched out of some primordial grey matter inside me. For as horrified as I was to watch everything I had attempted to do with that first video invalidated, I had to admit, there was something beautiful here too. So often, society dictates to us the principality of what is: numbers, law, science, logic. It presses these pieces of conceptual clay into our palms and watches as we hew them into jagged rods, each one a link in the perceptual cage that we trap ourselves in, a barrier between us and the single universal truth. We are the curators of what we perceive. We are the arbiters of our own reality. And just imagine what the world could be if we all recognize that.
We all recognize the mechanical Ant-Man.
If we could all shatter those conceptual bindings, if we could all create our own personal teen drama invaded by mechanical ant people. I can't lie. I was enraptured, but I knew I was watching the furthest reaches of Riverdale's lunacy, because surely nothing could go beyond this.
And that is it for now, unfortunately. This is, of course, a part of a much larger reaction, so link to the next part should be appearing, somewhere over my face, as well as in the corner of the video. I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you in the next part. See ya!